Evolve ensure grittiness.
It starts with an attitude. We need swagger, okay? Regardless of what happens out there. Doesn't matter. Keep your swagger.
Hey, everybody. This is 5-Hole Fantasy Hockey. Today, it's myself, Zachary Vogel, and with me, Raj. What up, Raj?
Good morning, sir.
Good old Mike Rogerson on a Sunday morning. Feeling a little rough, Raj. I'm not going to lie to you. Feeling a little rough this morning. Sometimes you got to go back to the locker room, get stitched up, and get back out there on the ice. So I had a good night last night, and we gonna make it happen, Captain. You can find us on Twitter at FHF Hockey. Join our Discord where, we got a whole bunch of hockey stuff going on. We got the week preview coming up. We just had the trade deadline end. We did finally see, Jacob Chikrin finally get traded and go somewhere. Mm-hmm. So let's start out with the bad vibes. And honestly, there really isn't too much bad vibes going on. The only one I really got for you, Raj, is ROR. Ryan O'Reilly, he left the game last night. After the second period, he did not come back out. He did not play the third period last night. And he's been really looking like he fits in well with that Toronto team. And they look fantastic, with him. So that one does kind of suck, especially me being a Toronto guy. We went over a bunch of trades last episode, and it just kept on going. It was a hell of a trade deadline this year. Why don't we start with Bertuzzi to Boston? The Boston Bruins, they got Tyler Bertuzzi from the Detroit Red Wings, and the Red Wings got a conditional first-round pick in 2024 and a fourth-round pick in 2025. He's already made an impact on that team. What are your thoughts on Bertuzzi to Boston?
Oh, man. Boston was already having a legendary good season, and they got way better at the deadline, too, over the week. I mean, it was a trade week. I think he got an assist last night, a couple of PIMs, Bertuzzi stuff. Man.
He's on that Charlie Coyle line, and, Coyle had a game with Bertuzzi on his side last night.
Yeah, I don't know. The whole East got way stronger this deadline, but I just don't know how anyone's going to compete with Boston. They were already so much better than everyone. They improved their D. They improved their forwards. They got goalies scoring goals, getting, I hate how good they are. I know you and me and a lot of people were sort of predicting the slide of Boston over the last few years, and then all of a sudden they just stopped on a dime and went back to 2011. And Bertuzzi's just adding to the pile. It honestly seems unfair.
Well, this is it seems like a great opportunity for Tyler Bertuzzi, as far as I'm concerned, because he doesn't have to in Detroit. He had to be one of the main guys. You have to be pushing offense and doing all of these things. He doesn't have to be that anymore. You know what I mean? He can be a secondary option guy where, the onus isn't all on him. Obviously, you have Larkin kicking tits in Detroit, but Bertuzzi just, I don't know. In all honesty, I feel like he kind of never really super fit in there. He's a good player, but it never kind of came to fruition in my eyes. So I think it's good for Bertuzzi to get to go to a different team. We'll see how his time on ice is affected by it. But at first glance, it seems like a good thing.
His ownership's gone up a lot. He's only 37% owned still, so he is still available, dual eligible. I think he's actually a good pickup. I know a lot of the standard team cliches are going away, but Bertuzzi seems like a Boston player to me. I think he's a really, really good pick.
Okay, next up we have John Klingberg going to Minnesota. So Minnesota has, that power play guy. I think that's the biggest part of this. He was traded by Anaheim, and they got Andre Schuster and the rights to Nikita Nesterenko, and also a 4th-round pick. So you're looking at Anaheim dismantling themselves and, getting some prospects out of the deal. Honestly, you got to think, again, this is actually really good for Klingberg. This is a sneaky one because you don't think of John Klingberg maybe making that huge of an impact. You thought that he might do it on Anaheim, but Anaheim and Minnesota are two crazy different teams. You know what I mean? They just are. So they've been kind of trying to find this power play aspect on their team. You got to think he slots right into that top power play, right? You got Kaprizov there. You got Jeek, Boldy, Matt Zuccarello on that top power play. It's a pretty good power play.
Yeah, and Klingberg a couple years ago was a good serviceable top D. So he's not that much older than those days. What are you going to do in Anaheim? I think he'll be a lot more.
He's also only 42% owned.
Yeah, for sure. He's available. I think he's another one that, I'm not, we talked about this a couple episodes ago. I'm not too overly into picking up traded guys just because they got traded, but this is another one where I think his situation's so much better. Like, Minnesota's been a lot better than they were at the first half of the year. They've been winning a lot of games, playing a lot better. And yeah, they have always lacked
to the point where they're buyers at the deadline,
Yeah, and they've just lacked that power play D. Like, they have great defense, like Spurgeon, Dumba, guys like that, Goligoski, even Brodin, but they're not power play D.
And with Kalen Addison out now, you got it, because he was, the heir apparent kind of what they wanted to be for that power play. So Kalen Addison was supposed to be slotted in there, and for the future. This seems like a knockout of the park here. Don't get me wrong, it could not work, but they traded him, they traded for him specifically for this power play. And, I know that he can do it. I'm actually super big on picking up Klingberg. This is a guy that, now that a lot of, in your fantasy hockey, like, trades are done for, they are done for. So you got it. If you're going to change your team around, this is a great way to do it because you can pick up a player like this who is less than 50% owned and have them make an impact on your defense where defensemen are already like, hard to come by. I love it. I'm actually super into this one. I think that this is sneaky one of the biggest ones.
And they didn't pay much, right? Like a prospect and a fourth. So I think it's a win, straight up win for Minnesota, no matter what.
Oh, agreed. I do. It's a good one. Okay, next up, the Richies.
The Richie trade.
Yeah, they got traded for each other. So the Calgary Flames get Troy Stecher and Nick Ritchie from the Arizona Coyotes in exchange for defensemen Connor Mackey and Brett Ritchie. So they're just switching them around. I could give it. I'm not gonna lie to you, Raj. I'm not here to lie to you. I don't care about.
I don't care either. The only reason it's on the list is because it's the brothers.
It happened.
The brothers.
Yeah, but also it was a trade. It legit happened. I just don't give a shit about it. Sometimes Nick Ritchie is worthwhile having. Troy Stecher is a very low level streamer if you really fucking need defense. But man, I'm not gonna lie to you, Raj. I don't care about this one.
I don't care about it at all.
This next one I actually think is a little more interesting, and that's Jordan Greenway getting traded to the Sabres. And Minnesota got a second-round pick in 2023 and a fifth-round pick in 2024. Now, that doesn't surprise me because I don't think he's worth a first-round pick, even though there was other teams that traded first-round picks away for players that I wouldn't think were worth first-round picks, but Jordan Greenway definitely not one of them. However, you're putting Jordan Greenway, a player that we've seen score before and was definitely worth a pickup then, and now he's going to an even higher powered offense in Buffalo.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the Buffalo's got almost a top six. Like, they kind of have a real top six, so he could find himself.
They still score goals, man.
Oh, for sure. I think he's definitely in a better situation. He was kind of just spinning his wheels before, so I think it'll be a nice fresh start. He could be a good streamer.
So are you putting Jordan Greenway in that top six? I guess what are you putting him on the Dylan Cousins line or what?
Well, their lines have gone a little funky the last few games.
But that second line, that's Dylan Cousins' line. It just is.
Should be. But yeah, I think he could find his way into the top six. Like, I'd consider him a middle six guy, which, as odd as it sounds, they're just one of the higher powered offenses, and they're going to be pushing to make their first playoffs in a long time. So I think it could be a decent streamer. He's not a huge impact player, but I think he's going to fit into the team nicely. So,
well, Tage Thompson like beat the friggin' devil at a fiddle contest or some shit because it's all him. It's all him. Well, I mean, you gotta understand. I don't see Vinny Hinostroza as a top six player. I just don't. Honestly, I don't see Casey Middlestat as a top six player. Just don't.
Exactly. So I think he could bump either of those guys.
Middle six, I'll give you that, Casey.
Yeah, we'll see.
Okay. Moving on. Now this one I am also excited about because I'm glad that Korpisalo went somewhere else. It was just kind of weird that, I don't know, like Jonathan Quick has been with LA for so long. So to see him in a different jersey is just, I'm not going to lie, it's weird. So Korpisalo got traded to the Kings and Quick got traded to CBJ, to Columbus. And then they flipped him and now he's in Vegas, which is weird because I thought that it was going to be Korpisalo that went to Vegas, but it's actually Jonathan Quick now. Jonathan Quick has a chance at, actually getting getting a cup. It's hard. That's hard to believe. Again.
It's been a bit.
But he knows how to win, dude. He knows how to win. And you're putting him on a good team where the goalies have had a lot of injury problems. I do like it. I think LA and Vegas both, got a good one out of this. Korpisalo had a win and a 923 or something like that in his first game in LA. So you gotta like that. Columbus gets a first round pick coming up next year and a third in 2024. What is there not to like here?
It's honestly, it seems like a three-way win, to be honest.
Everybody wins. Everybody wins this trade, and I love it. There is between three teams, and everybody wins.
Mm-hmm. And even though like LA has been a lot better, way better than I expected this year, I think this gives Quick a legitimate shot on a better team. Vegas is better than LA. Quick's getting his first start today against Montreal, so that's a nice soft entry.
And how could I forget? Wait, Vladdy Gavs. Vladdy Gavs went to Los Angeles too.
Yep, he sure did. So he's in a much better position. Dude, they got Doughty is still Doughty. They've got Dursey. They've got him now. LA is shaping up.
Matt Roy, Vladdy Gavs, Sean Dursey. I like their defense all of a sudden. What the shit? And then that sucks because I don't like the Kings, but like I like the Kings,
I know exactly what you mean. I don't like the LA Kings, but when we just list all those players, I sure like all the players we're talking about right now. So
the Kings are like that type of porn that you don't want anybody else know that you watch.
What are you talking about?
Nothing. Jakub Vrana is on the move again. He is going to St. Louis. The Wings get Dylan McLaughlin and a 7th-round pick in 2025. It's sad. It's sad because I used to love Jakub Vrana, and not that I don't still, but I mean, Jesus, I don't see this, being great for him going to St. Louis. I thought it was a great situation that he was in Detroit. Detroit has no problem coming out and saying, "Yep, we just can't make it work with these players. So let's trade them for nothing." And Verana's one of them again. What do you think about that? Is there anything here? Does he have a chance to make a comeback? Like there is, they traded away a lot of players. Like they have Kapanen now. He could be a top 6 player again. They just have a shitty top 6.
That's true. They have a shitty top 6. They've got a D that can't figure out what's going on. I don't know. I hoped for the best for Vrana, but I mean, look at that return, right? They're getting a 7th-round pick.
Nothing. They're getting nothing for him.
I mean, I very much trust Stevie Y's judgment in Detroit. So I think if he's willing to let him go for essentially nothing, a 7th-round pick is nothing. I mean,
yeah, they got Dylan McLaughlin, a 7th-round pick, and a fucking ham sandwich. Like that's what they got for Jakub Vrana.
Yeah, that definitely seems like Detroit is just fully given up on him, So I hope the best for him, but I just fantasy-wise, I don't think it's a thing.
All right, Vladislav Nemestikov got traded to San Jose and then got traded to Winnipeg. I guess that's a good thing because Winnipeg definitely needs help. But I mean, Nemestikov is more of, a streamer look, if anything. This was also like a nothing kind of trade. Tampa Bay Lightning, they ended up getting Michael Eyssimont. Is that? I don't know how to say that one.
No, that doesn't really matter.
I think that's a good guess. It's a good guess. If anybody knows, you let me know. And then Winnipeg traded a 4th-round pick to the Sharks for Nemestikov. So there's a whole bunch of nothing. Man, there was a lot of trades. We still got a lot to go. We got a lot to go here, Raj. I just scrolled down the dock a little bit, and I realized we're not even close.
There's a few we can speed through coming up here, I think.
Okay, fair enough. Jacob Chychrun finally got traded, and he goes to Ottawa, and he immediately started helping. Now, of course, Jacob Chychrun got traded for a 1st-round pick in 2023, a 2nd-round pick in 2024, and a 2nd-round pick in 2026. Honestly, I think that is a win for Ottawa. You didn't have to give up multiple 1st rounds like they wanted for him, and you were able to skate by throwing an extra 2nd-round pick in 2026 a couple of years down the line. I think this is a win for Ottawa. Big time.
100%. I didn't know Ottawa was in the picture for Chychrun, to be honest. I hadn't even thought about them as a team. And I mean, we've spent most of this season and even the offseason talking about how much we love what Ottawa's been up to.
Super great.
We love all their young guys. They brought in Giroux and they got, DeBrincat. They've got Shabbat.
DeBrincat. You have Shane Pinto coming out of his shell.
They can part with those picks, no problem. And to get a guy like Chychrun, he's only 24.
And not having to lose an Artem Zub or a Jake Sanderson in the process. You know what I mean? I think that's the biggest part, that they were able to trade just picks for him. They have all of this good young talent, especially on the defensive end, like as far as young goes, to not lose, someone like Jake Sanderson, I think is huge. I think it's a big win for Ottawa.
Outside of Giroux, they've got to be one of the youngest teams in the league, right? I mean, you got all of their good players are under 25. So yeah, I think letting go of picks is whatever. I mean, Chychrun, we'll cover some of the stats later, but Chychrun came out last night with a huge game. I guess some people were kind of like, oh, is he going to be as good as when he left? Yes, he is. He's great. He's a fucking awesome player. So yeah, I think it's a huge win for Ottawa. I think it's a huge win for anyone who can get out of Arizona. And like I said, he's only 24. Most of their good players are between 21 and 24. So Ottawa actually looks brilliant for a few years right now.
I like it. Your boys, the Canucks, they did something. Their big move was getting Hronek. Philip Hronek, and don't get me wrong, we all like Hronek, and I think he's a good pickup. It's a mixed bag for me because they did have to give up something to get him. The Canucks got Hronek and a 4th-round pick in 2023, and the Red Wings got a 1st-round pick in 2023 and a 2nd-round pick in 2023 as well. So now you guys have no picks for the first 2 rounds. It's a little rough for Philip Hronek, right?
Yeah, it's kind of it's a really controversial. Well, everything that happens in Vancouver is controversial on Twitter, but this is causing a lot of people love it. Some people hate it. I think it's fine. I think they overpaid, especially when you look at what we just talked about. Like they paid essentially the same as what Ottawa paid for Chychrun for Hronek.
Yeah. Actually, that's a great way to look at it. That really is. That's a great way to look at it. Minus 1 2nd-round pick.
Yeah, and the thing is, I think they got a great deal on Chychrun. I think Canucks slightly overpaid for Hronek. But the thing I don't mind is that this is the first time in a year or more that the Canucks have done what they actually need to do, which is get decent defensemen. They don't need more 2nd and 3rd line wingers. We've got like 14 of them. So I like the fact that they actually got what the team needed. I feel like we did overpay, but at least it's a piece we need, like it's not.
But he's another like offensive style defenseman at the same time, Raj.
That's very true. That's very true. We already kind of have, we already have an elite one.
Guy.
Side note.
It's like when you're golfing, you already have that club in your bag.
Did you just see that last night Quinn Hughes became the fastest defenseman in history to reach 200 assists, faster than Bobby Orr, faster than Brian Leach, faster than Cale Makar, faster than everybody?
He's really good.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, there is that to the trade. If the Canucks pick up some defensive defensemen in trades for some of these extra wingers, this is a fine move. But on its own, it's just fine. But like I said, I like that the team got what they needed. It's just when you look at what the people just paid for Chychrun and even Patty Kane for that matter, it's a pretty stiff price for Hronek, I think.
All right, up next we have Max Domi going from Chicago to Dallas. So Dallas gets Max Domi and Dylan Wells from Chicago, and Chicago gets Anton Khudobin and a 2nd-round pick in 2025. That sounds about right. In all honesty, I feel like, Dallas definitely won this trade. Kind of, I don't know if it's good or bad for Max Domi. I guess it's good for the sole fact of, without Patrick Kane in Chicago, like who the shit was he going to be playing with? Even though he's going to be a bottom 6 guy in Dallas, I would imagine they're deep. They're deep, dude. I mean, you got, Radek Faksa as your 4th line center. I love that. That's great. This is Dallas centers down the middle. Rupi Hintz, Wyatt Johnson, Max Domi, Radek Faksa. Wow. Great. That's great.
It'll be very, very interesting to see how he gets used in Chicago. They had nothing, so he was getting, he's basically allowed on the ice whenever he wants and having the season of a lifetime, right? But Dallas is obviously better. He's going to be.
So you see his ice time dropping, but I mean, he's playing with good. Even if he is on that 3rd line, I mean, you're looking at Marchment on your side, which is awesome because Domi is more of a he's a passer. Marchment is a shooter. That seems like it's going to work. I like that. I dig it, man. I dig it. I actually think it's a good thing for Domi, even though he's not going to be, playing on a top line, but you're playing on a top line on the worst team in the NHL.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll probably in the end probably work out to being fantasy wise pretty much even. Like he'll get less ice time on a better team. He played 16 minutes in his first game last night, as opposed to his.
Not bad.
Yeah, he was up around 19-20 in Chicago, so I think he'll be fine. I think he'll just kind of hold course. See what happens with his deployment. He's probably, he was the main power play guy in Chicago. I don't even think he'll make the power play in Dallas, so he's going to lose that. He won't be looked at as the only source of offense. So we'll see. I like Domi. He's having a good season, but I don't see him increasing in fantasy production, even though it's great for his career. I don't think it's too good for fantasy necessarily.
Okay, next up is Carolina. So Carolina Hurricanes, they traded for Ghost, and they traded a third-round pick for him, which I think is a great price.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong. Honestly, I think that the Hurricanes win this trade because all they had to pay was a third-round pick. But at the same time, I think that, number one, I just think they didn't make enough moves. I think that they should have traded away Paul Stastny, who has shown that he doesn't really fit into the Carolina offense. So I think that was a huge misstep by not getting rid of Stastny and getting something else to bolster your bottom six. Your big move is Shane Gostisbehere. Why? What? I guess you're going to put Shane Gostisbehere on that second power play. But, I mean, you already have a power play guy in Burns, and you already had to mix up your defense by adding Burns. You still have Jalen Chatfield there, which he's new. You have half your defense is completely different than the way it was last year, and they just did not make enough moves. They were leapfrogged by other teams that weren't as good as them, and the teams that were better than them made moves to get even more better than them. I think that Carolina made a huge misstep this trade deadline because everybody else got better in the East.
Yes.
And they got Shane Gostisbehere.
That's a great way to put that. They got Shane Gostisbehere, who's fine. Honestly, he's fine. But he's kind of like a shitty version of Brett Burns, right? Like he's a power play guy on a team that has one of the best power play guys already. It is kind of interesting, actually, if you look at their stats on the season, Gostisbehere compared to Burns, they're remarkably similar. The biggest difference is Burns has more assists because he plays on Carolina. But like we were just saying about Domi, Gostisbehere was kind of the shit in Arizona because who else are they going to play? Whereas when he comes here, he's going to lose the power play. He's going to lose minutes. He's not going to be the main offensive go-to on D. So fantasy-wise, it's actually, I think, worse for him. But like he has the same amount of goals as Burns, essentially. Can you believe that he has more hits and blocks than Brett Burns in like 7 less games?
Sure.
But
yes.
Yeah, I think it's just Burns is 45 years old or something. But Gostisbehere, it's kind of like he's fine and they didn't need it. It's a weird move to me.
I just hope that JJ Moser gets a crack at that top power play unit. Even though it is in Arizona, I like me some JJ Moser. All right, Michael Granlund goes to Pittsburgh from the Nashville Predators, and they got a second-round pick for Michael Granlund. Sure, why not? Whatever. Honestly, I think Pittsburgh is another one of those teams. Like they got rid of Kapanen. That wasn't working out. So at least Pittsburgh has made moves to change their team a bit. Walking out of there with Michael Granlund because that's pretty much what I feel like they did. They got rid of Kapanen and wanted somebody to fill that spot, and that's what Michael Granlund is.
100%.
But honestly, I think Kapanen is a better player than Granlund, but still, it is what it is. They said it wasn't working and that they couldn't make it work with Kapanen. Wasn't that a weird way to have it all happen, though? Like, you just straight up release Kapanen and then you trade a second round pick for Michael Granlund.
Yeah, I mean, you'd think you could just you'd straight up just trade Kapanen for Granlund, but I know Nashville Nashville has been picking up picks, and that's what they're after. It's fine. It's another one. Like, I don't think it's going to change much.
It's a fine.
Good enough.
I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't know if anybody's noticed, but in 3 games with Seattle, Kasperi Kapanen has 2 goals. And 2 out of those 3 games, he has 4 shots on goal.
He's a good player, man. I don't know why it wasn't working in Pittsburgh, but he's a good player.
That's the worst part of Pennsylvania right there. Pittsburgh. Yeah, you heard me. It's just the way it is. Eller went to Colorado, which, that one's actually a little interesting, I guess. And it's crazy. The Caps they're done? They're done? Is that what's going on?
They're done for the season.
It seems like it. They just traded, they're trading away all of their, auxiliary guys. And Eller was a big one of them. They got a 2nd-round pick for Eller that's going to Washington. I feel like this is good for Eller, I guess. He's going to go to the Avalanche and have a chance to be in that top 6. I would imagine at least a chance to do so. Likely he'll be, in the bottom 6, because I don't see him jumping over JT Compher, who has been playing amazing lately. Mm-hmm. But I like the move for Colorado, and it's okay for Lars Eller. He's going to be another guy where it's like, hey, someone got hurt, so Lars Eller is going to get up into the top line. He'll be playing with all the brass. Voracek going to Arizona. I feel bad for you, Jakub Voracek. Jakub Voracek and a 6th-round pick in 2023 to Columbus, and they got John Gillis. So, blah.
Just a money move.
Bukestad goes to the Oilers and defenseman Cam Dineen. The Coyotes get Michael Kesselring and a 3rd-round pick in 2023. Blah. Curtis Lazar goes to New Jersey. Blah. Are you sad to lose Curtis Lazar? You got a 4th-round pick back for him. That's a nothing, but I mean, that sounds about right.
Well, the only note I'd say on this one is it's good for it's a depth center for New Jersey. It just makes them a little bit better in the bottom 6, and that's about it. Not fantasy relevant whatsoever.
Okay, so this one is, the icing on the cake. I swear to God, I saw this trade and I was like, yes, I'm super all for this. Sweet. The Philadelphia Flyers traded the Kings for Brendan Lemieux. They got Brendan Lemieux and a 5th-round pick in exchange for Zach McEwen. Go. That's fine. Go ahead and get your 0 shots on goal per game the hell out of here. It's fine with me. I'm not worried about that at all. And as you're fully aware, Raj, I like Brendan Lemieux. Mm-hmm. I do.
Yeah.
He's a daddy. He's going to bang for us, and I am pretty excited about it. I like Brendan Lemieux. I'm okay with this. And I'm okay with not having, Zach McEwen. He wasn't a guy that was exactly killing it. But yeah, I'll take you, Brendan Lemieux, and all your hits. You'll be perfect on the Flyers.
Yeah, I agree. It's just bangs for bangs pretty much, but I think Lemieux is a better player. Definitely a better player than McEwen. So it is what it is.
That was a lot of trades, man. It was a fucking crazy trade year.
It was.
Like, I don't remember the last time that we've had a year like this.
No, not in terms of like big names shuffling around for sure. Usually it's filled with a lot of the lower end moves, but it's it was a big week. I mean, I do feel bad. I feel bad for the people who had those 8-hour-long shows planned for trade deadline day when it was basically just a bunch of bums.
Yeah,
at that point,
nothing happened really too crazy on that last day.
Yeah, no, it was a big 3 or 4 days for sure, though. Busier than we've seen in a long time. I did go back and take some notes on a few of the trades that happened earlier, just to see how people were doing, because it's always exciting when these big names get traded, and you always think, oh, he's going to this team, he's going to explode. And there's a lot of debate on whether that actually happens or not. And usually it doesn't, but sometimes it does. So we can just whip through just a quick review of some of these guys. I think the most impressive pickup of all has turned out to be Dmitry Orlov by Boston, actually, which I would not have seen coming personally. I don't know about you, but he's played 5 games and he's got 9 points in Boston.
Because Boston scores a lot of points.
I don't know if he had 9 points in Washington, but that's
mean.
Boston is just so damn good. So yeah, 9 points in 5 games for him. As you mentioned, Bertuzzi had 1 assist in his game that he's played in Boston. I think he's going to be fine there too. Patrick Kane, the big move. 2 games played, 0 points, and the Rangers have lost both games.
I'm not worried about that.
I'm not too worried about the Rangers. They look devastating, and I'm sure it's, maybe it'll take a minute to figure out how to shuffle around that incredible top 6 that they have now. But I'm sure the few people who picked up Kane heading into these playoffs are chomping at the bit, but I would not be worried about him. Chychrun in Ottawa, 2 games, goal, assist, 7 blocks. So doing exactly what you'd hope Chychrun would do. I can't get over that. That's my favorite trade, actually. I love that he's on Ottawa. Of any of the possible places he could have gone, that's the one that I didn't even see coming, and I love it. O'Reilly, 8 games played, 5 points, which isn't bad, except they were all in one game.
Yeah, 4 points in one of those games.
So this is something that I kind of brought up right at the beginning. Like, he fits in great, and he's going to be a really great piece for Toronto. He had a little injury. I think it's just a little one, but he hasn't scored any points since that 4-point night.
Oh, calm down, Nudge. Calm down.
Well, it's just, I think the point is, calm down about the 4-point night, because now at this point he has 5 points in 8 games. So he's back at Ryan O'Reilly pace. So it's a great trade for Toronto, and he's going to be good, but it was one big game. Achari, 8 games, 1 goal, which is about what you'd expect from Achari, but 25 hits.
Bunch of hits.
So he's doing exactly what Achari does. He plays the bottom 6, tons of hits, and the odd goal, right? That's exactly what Achari does. I love that for Toronto, actually, as much as the O'Reilly part. Going the other way in all that Toronto business, Sandin played his first game with Washington last night, 3 assists and 3 hits.
Mm-hmm.
So
I was still surprised that they traded away Sandin. That. I told you that the other day. I can't believe that they actually traded away Rasmus Sandin. I mean, I get it. You needed to trade something good to get something good. But at the same time, this was I think this was a decent loss for just for losing him as a player. Sandin's good.
He is a good player. I mean, he was kind of stuck behind Riley a bit, but in all honesty,
he's gonna be stuck behind John Carlson when he comes back.
Well, exactly. I probably would have actually. It's a bold move, but I almost would have considered trading Riley for a bigger piece and taking the chance on Sandin, because I think he is a decent player. But
he definitely is. And he's not even getting top power play down there. They're going 5 deep in Washington on, as far as forwards go on the power play. So I mean, he's not even getting top PP. But I mean, you can't argue against 3 assists in your first game.
Yeah, well, yeah, he could be a fine streamer for the remainder of the season here. It's hard to imagine you'd improve by leaving Toronto, but I think Toronto's so crowded, right? There's just so many great players, whereas Washington, good team, but it's not as stacked as Toronto. Another guy who's doing well is Niederreiter. Went to Winnipeg. He's got 3 games so far, a couple assists, 6 shots, 9 hits. Just doing that's Niederreiter at his best, Barry, 2 games, 1 goal. Ekholm, 3 games for Edmonton, 1 assist, 4 hits, 5 blocks. So he's kind of doing what he does. But the big news of all that business is what's happened with Bouchard. He didn't move, but the moves took away Barry, which was the power play, and brought in Ekholm, who's more of a defensive defenseman, moving Bouchard to the power play, which so sad TJ is not here to hear this, but
where he got 3 assists. Two of them were on the power play. And Evan Bouchard, on top of the fact that he got 5 minutes extra time on ice.
Yep. This is what makes Bouchard absolutely relevant. It just was not going to happen with Barry there, because Barry is decent at the power play. And Bouchard needs that power play, and now he's got it. Right? They cleared the way for him, and so far, so good. So,
I had to wait to be right. I had to wait a long time.
like a year and a half, but it's happened. And I think it's moving forward. I think this will be what particularly you and TJ have been on about for pretty much a year and a half, is if he can get that power play, this is what he's going to do. And
I mean, I told you, he did. Fucking Tyson Barrie had to go. You got to go, bro. Later. Deuces.
I think this is kind of what was in the plan for a long time, but I just don't think there was any way it was going to happen with him there. You know, even if when Bouchard did get the power play, he never got the power play. You know, he'd get like half a game, and if he didn't get a goal, then it'd be back to Barrie. So this is great. This is great. Even though, again, Bouchard didn't get moved, the moves paved the way for him.
Good.
And then the last one I got here is Kapanen on St. Louis. 3 games, 2 goals, 9 shots, 5 hits, 4 blocks. So he's actually been absolutely fantasy relevant in St. Louis so far. We'll see if that continues. I'm not... I definitely would stream him. If he's available, he's worth a pickup.
See, you say you're not about all these streaming guys that just got traded. I'm all about picking up these guys that just got traded.
Some of them, yeah.
Because this kind of stuff happens. Because, you know, at least right away it works. And then you can either reap the benefits of things working right away. They're worthwhile to hold on to for a bit. Then when they slow down, drop them. It's fine. But I'd rather be the one making that decision. Okay, so that does it for the trade deadline specials. The multiple ones that we had, because there was so much shit going on. I think it was an awesome year for trades. I loved it. Every day you had to stay on top of things or you were going to get left behind. But other than that, Raj, this is supposed to be a week preview show. And, you know, an entire episode in, we haven't even talked about the upcoming week. Now, the upcoming week, nothing crazy as far as games per day. Monday, you're looking at 6. Tuesday 10, Wednesday only 3 games, Thursday 11 games, Friday 2, Saturday 15, a ton, and then Sunday, last day of the week, where usually there's only 3 or 4 games, you're looking at 8 games on Sunday. That's pretty crazy. But what sucks, Raj, and I said this before we started, man, I hate all these teams. This is a horrible week to talk about fantasy hockey and who to stream and this and that. You know, your best schedule is Chicago. Ew. Chicago. Who are you picking up from Chicago, Raj? I know the answer to that, and that's nobody.
No one. They don't have anybody. They just traded away their last 2 players. And Toe's retired or whatever. So, yeah, they literally have nothing. You going to pick up Tyler Johnson? No.
Philip Kurashev? Lucas Reichel? Let's get some Lucas Reichel action in here. Their top line right now is Lucas Reichel, Philip Kurashev, and Andreas Athanasiou.
Jesus Christ. How bad do you feel for Seth Jones right now?
Horrible. They should have traded him, too. They should have traded him, too. They should just be called the Chicago Fourth Liners, because they have an entire team full of fourth liners. This is crazy. I've never seen, like, who's their best, Taylor Radish? Tyler Johnson? I mean, Tyler Johnson only sticks out because he used to be good. You got Jujhar Khaira, still on there. That's one of TJ's guys. But, man, this is just an awful team. That's your best schedule, Raj. 4 games played, 3 off nights. Chicago. They're gonna score a total of 1 goal. They suck. It's awful. A couple of teams that have 4 games and 2 off nights. That's Anaheim, blah. Calgary, okay. I think we're going to take most of our players from Calgary. It's my guess. And then Winnipeg, who I've already said, I'm tired of talking about you, Winnipeg. I'm done. I'm tired of talking about Winnipeg. Go pick up Blake Wheeler because Winnipeg, and that's like all you got. So Vancouver has 2 off nights on 3 games, and then Ottawa and Nashville play 4 games played, but only have 1 off night. But you said it yourself, Raj. Everybody on Ottawa's take.
Yeah.
So I don't want anybody from Chicago. I don't want anybody from Anaheim. No offense, Raj. I'm not super huge on streaming Vancouver players either. I don't want anybody from Nashville. Ottawa, anybody worth owning is already owned. You're looking at Calgary here and you're looking at Winnipeg. And like I said, I'm tired of talking about Winnipeg.
Yeah, it's definitely a garbage week. I'm glad there were so many trades to talk about because there's really not a lot of exciting streamer options. I think the overall, if we had like a 5-hole tip for the week, it would basically be like there's no week-long holds here, I don't think. It's all you're going to be playing day by day. In terms of like actual players to stream, I threw down a couple of guys, and I don't really like any of them. The one guy who is available, who I do not mind from the Canucks, is Beauvillier. He's left wing, right wing. He's 18% owned, so he is available. The thing I like about him is he's a top line player now. He's playing with PD and Kuzmenko, so he's getting a bit of PP time, but Pettersson and Kuzmenko are just a match made in heaven. So Beauvillier is capitalizing on that. And he's available. But what I do like about it is Vancouver has the 2 early week off nights. But yeah, like I said, I'm not even 100% sold on him, but he could be a decent option for a stream just because of his deployment right now.
Oddly enough, a lot of these teams that have, they have a good start to the week and they have a good end to the week and nothing in the middle. Oddly enough, I will say this, though. You know whose schedule I actually do like? And I know we're going to be talking about this team in the weekend preview when we get there. Boston only plays 3 games, but they got a back-to-back against the Red Wings on Saturday, Sunday, which you have got to like that. They are going to roll house on the Red Wings all weekend long. But yeah, other than that, at the end of the week, you're going to be looking at, the Calgary Flames. They play the Ducks and the Senators on Friday and Sunday. So those are, good days to kind of shoot for. And then the only other team that plays that Friday, Sunday, 2 off nights at the end of the week is Anaheim. And hell, Sunday is kind of an off night, but I guess you still have to figure it out that way. As, there's a ill shit ton of games on Saturday. So our tip of the week is, there ain't shit. This week sucks. It's not my fault that Chicago traded every single player away and they have the best schedule. Other than that, who do you have as streamer suggestions? Like I said, I like your Anthony Beauvillier one. I'm in for that. You can always throw, a Ryan Hartman out there. They have, not the greatest schedule in the world, but he's available. He's playing very well right now. They play 2 back-to-backs this week. So you're looking again at, Gustafsson for the Wild getting at least 2 games this week. And their latter half of the week schedule is fantastic. They play San Jose and Arizona. I like Ryan Hartman at 31%. I think he is still very viable. Who else do you have?
Yeah, I do. I like Hartman. You know what? The one guy you could take a look at is Niederreiter. Like we were saying, he's had a decent start since the trade. He's got the Monday, Wednesday off nights, San Jose and Minnesota. So another guy where try him out. He's only 20% rostered. You could try him out for the early week off nights. Now later in the week, he plays back-to-back Saturday, Sunday against Florida and Tampa. So you might want to dump him for the second half of the week if he's not working out, but he's a good pickup for the start of the week.
The only other guy that I'm interested in, but I also like Blake Coleman. He does stuff, which I have written down here. He does stuff. But in all honesty, he does. He does do stuff. He's only 11% owned. He's playing very well right now. The only thing that you have to worry about Coleman is, number one, he's super friggin' streaky. But at the same time, he'll shoot a ton. He'll shoot a ton. Right now, he's shooting a ton. And he's getting a bunch of points and everything like that. And then he'll just stop shooting and he'll shoot 0 shots on goal and shit like that. But right now, he is playing very well. He's on that line with Michael Backlund, who we may or may not be talking about, or may be talking about. But, Calgary has a good schedule. I like Blake Coleman here at 11%. We're going to be talking about Michael Backlund, but you should have known that already if you listen to us.
You know what? I think I would like to add to your statement here. Blake Coleman does stuff when he does stuff, and then he doesn't do stuff. But right now he's doing
every part of that statement is a fact.
He is doing the stuff right now for sure. He's got a couple goals in his last couple of games, and he's such a one of those guys, right? And when he's doing this, he's worth a pickup because he does everything when he does stuff. My last suggestion, I feel very bad about saying, but Mason McTavish has been playing pretty well. 5 points in the last 3 games. He's 14% owned, center left wing, so he's easy to slot in. And with Anaheim's schedule, he is somebody to say. Anybody on Anaheim's always a risk for getting shut out or just not caring and not trying that day. But I think McTavish is a decent pickup if you need somebody. And again, they've got a good enough schedule. So I think he's an option.
What about Troy Terry?
Yeah, he's there.
I mean, if I'm going an Anaheim guy, I'm definitely going Troy Terry as opposed to Mason McTavish. The only thing is, McTavish is 14% owned, while Troy Terry is 56% owned. But it's definitely, he's right around 50%, and he has had a ton of goals lately. He had goals in 4 straight, was it? I think it is
4
straight. He had goals in. He threw an assist in there. Didn't have any points in his last game, but I mean, Troy Terry playing pretty well right now. And honestly, I like Troy Terry. I wish he would have gotten traded to a cool team, but that didn't happen.
If he's available, I think he is a better pickup for sure. He's playing all right, and sometimes I know we've both talked about how we like to pick up guys who are when the team's trying to get into the playoffs because they often have to give her and blah blah blah. Sometimes there's certain guys like maybe in Anaheim, right, where all the pressure's off, nobody gives a fuck anymore. So sometimes you see those guys have a good end to the season because they just have no reason not to. And they know their season's over, right? They know, well, you know what? As in a month, my season's over regardless, so I might as well just give her now. I don't have to save for the playoffs. So that could happen. I'm not saying I'd bank on that, but I think Terry, even though he's on Anaheim, I think he's a good pickup. He hasn't played in a while, so he's fresh. In terms of bangers, wanted to throw a little shout out to Liam O'Brien in Arizona, just because it's probably the only time his name will ever be brought up on a fantasy hockey show. But he's got 37 hits in the last 6 games, and he had a 13-hit game against Chicago. So I just feel like that needs some airtime. 13 hits is, that's Radko Gudas territory. But, whatever. And beyond that, as far as an actual banger to pick up, I like Ivan Barbashev, actually. He's another guy who got traded. He's got 3 points in 3 games with Vegas and 4 hits a game. So Barbashev could be a guy if you're looking for bangs with the possibility of some points.
I would actually think if you're looking for a perif kind of guy, Arizona does have a good schedule this week. You could look Jack McBain's way. He's getting 3-4 hits a game, which is pretty friggin' solid. Not a guy that you're going to be getting shots on goal or points or anything like that with. But if it's just strictly hits and blocks, Arizona does have a good schedule, and Jack McBain does throw them bangs around. So I would possibly look at a very available Jack McBain.
What about you got goalies?
I'm gonna always, double, triple, and quadruple down on Philip Gustafsson for my goalie streamer of the week, and I think I can speak for all of us that I think that that's the guy. He is gonna get to just go check territory really soon, and you're not gonna be able to pick him up anymore. So this is the time to go get him. Go get you some Gustafsson from the Wild. And then streamer pick of the week, I am again going to speak for all of us. It's Michael Backlund at 42% owned. They are one of the few teams that have a good schedule, players that are available, and players that are worthwhile picking up. And Michael Backlund is the head of, all three of those. Like, he is the answer to all three of those. I'm not interested in Chicago, to be honest with you. I'm not really interested in Anaheim. There are some players that are worthwhile to pick up. But I mean, Michael Backlund, he's the man. I'm sorry. And I know we've been talking a lot about Michael Backlund, but for good damn reason. On top of the fact that they are one of these teams that have a good schedule. I do. I like Michael Backlund here, and I know that you agree.
I 100% agree. Yeah, we talk about him a lot because he's been playing really good, and he has been for a while. And Calgary, man, what a letdown this season. But I see Backlund probably giving her till the end of the season. To be honest, I think he's one of those types of players who is probably going to play better because the team's playing bad, and he doesn't like it. So yeah, he's great. 100% endorse that one.
That'll do it, Raj. That was we got it done there. Got it done. That was a lot. A lot of the trades. Good thing that the week wasn't the week coming up isn't too interesting, or else this would have been a really long episode.
Yeah, man. Definitely not going to be as exciting as last week, that's for sure.
All right, so other than that, boys, hit us up on the Discord. We have the Tuesday trends coming up here. We have another weekend preview. If you have any questions for us, throw them into the mailbag. We will get to them on air if we can. You can find us on Twitter at FHF Hockey. Raj, good episode, brother. It was a fun trade deadline week. I really did enjoy it. Raj, love you. TJ, love you. Everyone else, love you too.
Love you.